Do you really think Microsoft is going to spend all of this money developing consoles with next gen tech, buying studios like Activision and Bethesda just to turn around and go third party? Do you really believe that nonsense? Well, welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and we're going to discuss this right now because our good buddy Thrash is out there making people, getting people to try to believe this. Well, let's just put this genie right back in the bottle, okay, guys? So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm going to try to explain to you the best way I can why that makes zero sense at all, and why I think these guys are a little bit off their rocker. So, look at it from this point of view. If Microsoft turned around and got out of the console business and went third party, that would instantly it just wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. Especially if Game Pass wasn't on PlayStation or Nintendo. I mean, ideally they would have to be on every platform. Game Pass would have to be on every single platform for that to even make sense. Seriously, like for it to even make sense. PlayStation is the market leader. They are selling the most consoles, whether you like it or not. Like, PlayStation is the market leader. So in order for Xbox to be able to go third party or whatever and put those games on the that doesn't even make any freaking sense to me whatsoever. If Microsoft was all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, by the way, it's the first of the generation, we're just going to go ahead and move away, and we're not going to produce any more Xboxes, we're just going to go all Game Pass, whatever. That really, guys, really? No. Microsoft has already confirmed and already said that they will continue the hardware business. Even after this one, they will continue a hardware business, which is smart because a lot of people aren't going to go out and buy a computer. They're not going to, I mean, they definitely, the market for game consoles is not going to go away this generation, next generation, the generation after that. People still want to have some sort of a dedicated hardware to do that, to play their games. Microsoft stepping aside and just letting, like PlayStation run after all of these acquisitions and everything, that doesn't make that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Why would they pull out? Why would they pull out? What would they hope to gain from that? Having a console in there gives them a foothold. Always will give them a foothold, a platform to be dedicated directly to Xbox and Xbox first party software, to be able to have a platform as a basis to create these things. Now, without that, everything is created on the PC. There's no Xbox Series S to create for. There's no Xbox Series X to create for. What are they going to do? Create all these games for PlayStation 5 and then port them to PC? That doesn't make any sense to me whatso freaking ever. There are a dedicated fan base that want to have a console. There are dedicated fan base that buys all these consoles, the 100 million, 120 million from PlayStation, the 100 million from Nintendo, the 60 million from Xbox One last generation. Those guys are still going to want to buy a console. Do you really think that all of those guys are like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm just going to jump on over to Stadia, or I'm going to jump on over to xCloud right now and just start playing those games that way? No, you need a dedicated console to be able to get the ultimate best experience that you can get from these games at launch. Do you really think people are going to be like, oh yeah, you know what, man? I'm perfectly okay with 1080p 60 frames a second, streaming them on xCloud. It's great. It's fun if you're at a friend's house and they got an older Xbox and you log in and you play the game, over the internet. But why would they give up that foothold that they've worked so hard over the last 20 years to build? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I have been getting, I've been hearing a lot about this, and I wanted to kind of put this to bed. Activision is now part of Xbox. Bethesda is now part of Xbox. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be more too. I'm pretty sure they're going to either acquire, I'm pretty sure they'll probably end up with, maybe Ubisoft Maybe not Ubisoft, maybe EA, something like that along those lines. I think that Microsoft, in a way, is trying to consolidate the gaming landscape, but at the same time, they're not trying to do so vindictively or whatever. Like this all revolves around, like it is true. This all revolves around feeding Game Pass, being able to feed Game Pass with consistent content from big party developers to generate that user base for it. That in no way, shape, or form gets rid of a console. Period. We are finally getting consoles that are powerful enough to really push the limits and the boundaries of what games can do. It's too early for them to be like, oh yeah, we're dropping out of that. The technology is not there to service all the people out there in the world that would want to be part of the Xbox ecosystem. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So anybody telling you this, that Xbox is going third party, man, just laugh it off. Seriously, laugh it off, because it doesn't make any sense. It literally doesn't make any sense. There are countries in this world that don't have fast enough internet for that to work. And any other platform aside from the Xbox and the PC, if you've got a PC and you've got an Xbox, you can play those games natively. So you'll get, the 4K, the 60 frames, the 120 frames. If they are only streaming, the max right now is 1080p 60 frames a second. That doesn't make any sense. Sony's out there selling consoles that are going to give people a 4K image. Why would Microsoft settle for 1080p 60 frames a second when they can put out a more powerful console for the same price and people can buy that? Or they can choose the Xbox Series S and they can play on a 1080p TV. Xbox came to fight this generation and next generation and every generation after that. Now, well, when we actually have a quality enough, the quality's there to be able to stream our games at 4K 120 frames a second, or to have that ability built in to be able to get that and make it feel like a native experience, then maybe I could see PlayStation, Nintendo, and Microsoft walking away from the console business. But until then, every 7 to 10 years they're gonna double what we already have right now. In 7 years from now, we'll be able to get 24 teraflop Xbox that will be able to do even more, and they'll be able to continuously grow and expand what these worlds can do, and it'll be at a reasonable price. That's the thing. That's what people don't understand. Like right now, this technology is new enough to where we're like, oh man, what could they do? What could they, like, this has got to be the last one. I would not worry about that. As long as there are gamers, there are going to be dedicated console gamers. As long as there are gamers, there's going to be PC enthusiasts. As long as there are gamers and people enjoy and want to play the games that are being created, there will always be a need, a desire for gamers to have that platform, to have that hardware so that they can enjoy these experiences natively. Now, what does the future look like in 7 to 10 years? I would say, my honest opinion is it is still going to be pretty close to what we've got right now. Pretty close. We're still going to have, consoles like we have right now. They're going to be more powerful, of course. But it's not until, I would say maybe 20 years, maybe 2 more generations before we're finally at a point where internet is stable enough everywhere. Maybe not even 20, maybe 30, 40 years before internet is stable enough to where we can actually take advantage of being able to stream this stuff natively. Like, I mean, there's already been a lot of strides and everything that have pushed it forward. I mean, Stadia is doing pretty good. GeForce Now is doing pretty good. Xbox or xCloud's doing pretty good. But if you've noticed, they've cut Xbox back at 1080p 60 for a reason. Like, they want you to have a better experience playing those natively on your console. And on a phone, that's all you need is 1080p. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why they didn't go all the way out like Stadia and try to deliver a 4K experience. There's a reason for that. There's a genuine reason for that. Why do you think xCloud is bundled in with Game Pass Ultimate? So that people that are on that service and they have an older Xbox, they can still get a better experience running a last gen console. Well, at least in terms of, you know, the Xbox One and the One S. When it comes to the Xbox One X, it's a little bit different. You know, yeah, you'll have to drop down to 1080p to get 60 frames a second, but at least you'll still be able to play next-gen games. There's a reason why things are working the way they're working. If they went all 4K at 60 frames a second, who would buy, like, it would make it so being able to, or wanting to buy, you know, next-gen native hardware would be a little bit more of a problem. They're not going third party. They're not going third party. If anything, they're going to buy as many more developers as they can to feed Game Pass, and there's still going to be a native version for your native hardware this generation, next generation, the generation after that. But, I mean, what does it matter? What does it matter if Microsoft buys all these companies? Surely Sony doesn't need them. They've got the best first-party games ever. And if you ask any fanboy, that's what they'll tell you. They're the best. They have the best games. So surely Sony and their first-party studios could stand on their own, right? I mean, who cares if one of their games comes out like every 6 months or whatever, or every, you know, like a year and a half or something. I mean, that's more than enough to keep them Sony guys. I mean, Nintendo does it, and they're doing pretty good for themselves. So, yeah, I don't know, man. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care if Microsoft buys every single one of them. The only reason I have a PlayStation 5 now is to play PlayStation first-party exclusives. So there you go. There's your answer. I bought a PlayStation 5 so I could play Sony first-party exclusives because they mean that much to me. So we'll see. We'll see how this unfolds. I mean, Activision is the biggest get that any of them could get. Next, it'll be EA. Take-Two Interactive after that. Sony can't buy them. Sony doesn't have enough money to buy any of these guys. They're not making enough money. You know why? Because their gamers do not buy games. They wait for them to go on sale. And they raise the price to $70. Sony keeps shooting himself in the foot all the time. Microsoft's got $300 and something million a month coming in right into its coffers every month for Game Pass. What has Sony got? They're about to lose $200 and something billion with Activision. So we'll let that sit how it is. If you think the Xbox is out there just buying all these companies so that they can go third party, you're probably more deluded and crazy than I could even possibly give you credit for on this show. This doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that? There's no way they're doing that. It just does not fit the business model whatsoever. Now, yeah, eventually, in maybe a few generations, we could see that. We could definitely see that, but oh man, I don't know. The hardware's starting to get more and more. I mean, more people are going to want to buy PCs, you know, if the hardware doesn't keep up to at least the standard that it's going. So, I don't know. I don't see Microsoft going third party anytime soon. Do I think that they might let some of these developers and publishers still put their games on PlayStation? Maybe that's the case. Maybe they will do that, but that does not mean that Microsoft is going third party. So yeah, enough of this nonsense. And if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.